being a celebrity sometimes comes with, like, everybody wants to be successful in a celebrity and stuff like that, but it comes with, bullshit sometimes, and, you know, that's the only thing that I hate about it.
Oh, do y'all communicate?
I've texted with him recently.
Okay, what'd you say?
Yeah, I was just looking. I've been looking for him.
Oh, you have been?
Yeah.
Say what now? Not Terrence Howard getting linked up with Taraji P. Henson and Katt Williams in talk about exposing Will Smith and Diddy over what allegedly happened to Bryshere Gray. This situation sounds wild, and people online are not holding back with the claims and reactions. If you haven't come across Bryshere Gray's videos on Twitter, consider yourself lucky, because stumbling onto them can be a shock. He went from being one of Hollywood's rising stars to living a completely different kind of life.
No matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on.
And people are questioning how it all changed so fast. Many are saying this didn't just happen randomly, and that's where the rumors start getting intense. There's talk that everything was set up early on, back when he was still a teenager stepping into the industry, and placed around powerful figures for guidance. Some even claim his own mother, Andrea, was aware of what was going on, which makes the story even more disturbing if true. According to these rumors, this is why Taraji and Terrence couldn't step in to protect him, because the people who should have had his back were allegedly already involved. For anyone still confused about how things spiraled, people keep pointing back to that mentorship arrangement involving his manager and major industry names. At the time, Bryshere was gaining serious attention for his role as Hakeem on Empire, sharing the screen with Taraji P. Henson and Terrence Howard, so this opportunity looked huge on the surface. But now, critics online are claiming it may not have been what it seemed at all. Some voices are alleging that instead of real mentorship, the situation exposed him to harmful environments and pressures that no young artist should face. These claims remain unproven, but they continue to spread, especially since other celebrities like Usher, Justin Bieber, and YK Osiris have also been pulled into similar conversations by internet speculation. It's a lot to take in, and it raises serious questions about who should have stepped in sooner. At the same time, people are pointing out that there were already controversies and investigations surrounding some of these figures back then, which makes the situation feel even more unsettling in hindsight. And then there are even more explosive claims from Jaguar Wright, who said Will Smith allegedly crossed serious boundaries, even involving his own family. These are heavy accusations that remain unverified, but they've added even more intensity to an already chaotic narrative. Now, here's where things get even heavier. While all this alleged chaos was unfolding, Bryshere Gray was still actively filming Empire, and his co-stars, Terrence Howard and Taraji P. Henson, were right there watching the changes happen in real time. They reportedly saw him going from focused and driven to someone who looked worn down and disconnected, and it didn't sit right with them at all. But like I said before, what could they really do? They could offer advice, check in on him, and try to guide him, but when it comes to serious situations like this, you usually go to the parents. And according to the rumors, that wasn't even an option here, which made everything feel even more complicated. Without clear proof, going to authorities wasn't something they could just do either, even if their instincts were telling them something was off. After Bryshere stepped away from the spotlight, they didn't just forget about him either. Reports say they kept trying to reach out and see if he was okay, but even getting in contact with him became difficult. Jussie Smollett even shared in an interview with Candy Burris that people from the show had been trying to locate him after Empire ended, hoping to help him get back on track. And remember when Taraji spoke out strongly against industry executives in 2024? Some are now saying that moment may have been influenced by what she witnessed behind the scenes during that time. It adds a whole new layer to her frustration, especially if she felt powerless watching someone struggle right in front of her. Then there's Terrence Howard, who made some statements that really got people talking. He shared in an interview that during that same period, he allegedly had an uncomfortable encounter with Diddy, but shut it down immediately. He also spoke in a broader sense about how some men in the industry are pressured in ways that challenge their identity and boundaries, which many listeners connected back to Bryshere without him directly naming anyone. He even said, and I quote, "Everything is androgynous. The more successful men now are the effeminate. The man has been demonized with the new formula. Most men are made to be effeminate and not have their power or sense of strength. They allow white men to be able to be strong, but when it's black men, it's seen as a threat." Those words had people reading between the lines and trying to piece together what he might have been hinting at. And just when it seemed like the story couldn't get any more intense, Will Smith's former associate, brother Bilal, stepped in with claims of his own. He alleged that during his time working closely with Will, Bryshere was around them during trips, and one particular night in Chicago stood out to him. According to Bilal, Bryshere became emotional and opened up about feeling taken advantage of after being under the influence, though these claims remain unverified and are heavily debated. Bilal also claimed Bryshere initially thought he was involved, which he denied, adding another complicated layer to the story. And then there's Katt Williams, who, while not naming Bryshere directly, spoke openly about his own experiences with pressure from powerful figures in Hollywood. During that 2024 interview with Shannon Sharpe, he described shutting down an inappropriate advance tied to a career opportunity, making it clear he wasn't willing to compromise himself. People have always speculated about Bryshere's situation, but with all these voices speaking out, whether directly or indirectly, it's pushed the conversation into a much more serious space. Still, it's important to remember that many of these claims are allegations and interpretations, not confirmed facts, even as the discussion continues to grow louder. But until Bryshere himself actually speaks up, nobody can really confirm what's true and what's not. Right now, he's active on X, posting content that's got people talking nonstop, and the reactions are all over the place. One person commented, "Yes, he needed guidance. The straight men in Hollywood should be mentoring the younger actors and giving them guidance as to who to avoid." They went on to say, "In Hollywood, they have to teach them not to be so hungry for fame that they compromise their morals and integrity." That perspective right there sparked a whole debate online about how young actors are introduced to the industry and who's really looking out for them. The same person added, "It's one thing to be homosexual. To force that on naive straight young guys is deplorable. Be careful of those who offer drugs, alcohol, and wild parties along with their mentorship." They even said, "Go to the ones who spend time explaining the business, giving pointers on acting, and then tell you to go home and stay away from certain parties and alcohol." That advice hit hard for a lot of people watching this unfold. Another comment took things even further, saying, "I still get upset when I think of how Justin Bieber and Bryshere Gray have been ruined, and God knows how many other young boys and girls." And then someone else claimed, "His mind has been controlled by the bosses for so long that they issued just enough in his system to fully ruin his mind and had an effect on his whole way of thinking." The internet is definitely buzzing with opinions, but at the end of the day, it's still a mix of speculation, concern, and strong reactions without clear confirmation. And with all these conversations blowing up online, more and more people are starting to question the bigger picture behind Hollywood itself. Folks aren't just talking about Bryshere anymore. They're side-eyeing the entire system and how young talent gets pulled into it. Some are saying this isn't just one isolated situation, but part of a pattern where rising stars get surrounded by powerful figures the moment they start gaining attention. The idea is that once you're in that circle, it becomes harder to tell who genuinely wants to help and who has other intentions. That's what's really got people uneasy right now. Others are pushing back, though, saying the internet might be going too far with these theories. They argue that without Bryshere speaking for himself, a lot of these claims could be exaggerated or completely off base. And honestly, that's a fair point, because social media has a way of turning assumptions into facts overnight. Still, the concern for young artists is very real. People are calling for better protection, stronger mentorship, and more transparency in the industry, So situations like this, whether proven or not, don't keep coming up again and again. Because at the end of the day, no one wants to see another young star rise up fast, only to crash just as quickly under pressure. At the end of the day, this whole situation leaves more questions than answers. People are talking, clips are circulating, and the theories just keep getting louder. But the one voice everyone is still waiting on is Bryshere's. Because until he steps forward and tells his side, everything else is just noise mixed with speculation, no matter how convincing it might sound. And that's what makes this whole story feel so unfinished and, honestly, unsettling. One thing is clear, though. This has people looking at Hollywood very differently now. The glam, the fame, the opportunities, it all hits different when you start hearing stories like this being tossed around. So now the real question is, how many more stories like this are out there that nobody's talking about yet? And if the truth does come out one day, will it match what people have been saying all along, or completely flip the narrative on its head?